You know, at the end of the day, this made way more sense than it should have. Greetings, comic lovers, and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old, to history, to anecdotes, really wherever our whims take us. It's time to enter the land of ludicrous crossovers once more. Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica. Why? Because why not? Now, Archie has a history of bizarre crossovers. They will really just do anything. Archie meets the Punisher, Archie versus the Predator, Archie versus Sharknado, and Dynamite, since taking the reins of Vampirella and Red Sonja, also placed them on crossovers just cuz. Now, crossovers are not for everyone, and some people are selective about how they like to enjoy them, if they enjoy them at all. Some universes go to great pains to explain the crossovers. How are they happening? How does it make sense? Give me the logistics. This is not one of those times. This is very much a this is happening and people just accept it. It's also a more humorous, tongue-in-cheek book, so if you're looking for hard, gritty action in your Red Sonja, Vampirella, Betty and Veronica crossover, no dice. There's also variant covers. So many variant covers. Too many variant covers. And some of them, well, they got some cake. This video is brought to you by HelloFresh. Thanks so much to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. HelloFresh is a meal kit subscription service where you can get exciting recipes and ingredients delivered right to your door. It's cooking made easy. Also cleanup made easy. Everything with HelloFresh comes already packaged and portioned out, and you can adjust your size just for you. Is it gonna be for you, 2 people, so you can have leftovers, for the whole family? You decide. You can also go for things that are quick to cook if you're on the go. It really takes the guesswork out of what you're going to cook, which can relieve one of life's secret stresses, deciding what to cook. HelloFresh offers so many recipes each week, it'll keep you from getting bored if you feel like you're in a food rut. They offer 50 menu and market items each week. Also, if you're worried about all that packaging, it's recyclable or already made from recycled content. If you're interested in trying out HelloFresh, go to HelloFresh.com and use my code casuallycomics14 to get 14 free meals, including free shipping. Delicious meals are just a click away.
Pretty good.
It is good. It's nice. Yeah, I like this. This is nice. Thanks, HelloFresh. So I hope you're ready to sink your teeth into the first half of this crossover. This series is by Amy Chu, with art by Maria Laura Snapo for the most part. The cover I posted in the community tab was by Faye Dalton. I'm telling you, because if you're out to search for that specific cover, because again, you have choices. Now the series spanned 12 issues and was released through 2019 and 2020. The first 6 issues encompass one story arc. And there's a lot going on, so we're gonna focus on the first 6. Afterwards, there's even more going on, and it would be quite long to do everything all at once. So if you enjoy this first 6, let me know, and then we'll come back for more. Now, Vampirella and Red Sonja also had their own crossover going at this point by Jordi Belair running concurrently. And they do kind of tie together, but not really, and you don't really need to be reading that one or have read that one for this to make sense. The cliff notes that you need to know is that these two have been dimension hopping together, bound together by magic and mad circumstances. But enough about that. You want this duo to meet Betty and Veronica. Let's do it. I'm Sasha. Like, subscribe. Join me on the comic book journey. It's about to get interesting. It's always interesting. Now this series, at least the first 6 issues, had a very Archie's Weird Mysteries vibe. So if you were into that show, this will be right up your alley. But some of the tropes employed are very teen TV show drama. I'd say like Riverdale, but that show takes those tropes up to a whole other level.
Oh my God.
What?
Game changer. Archie got hot. He's got abs now.
We open on a murder, and it's one of those, oh, it's just you, it's totally fine, I'm not about to die scenarios. I trust you totally, you're not here to murder me. This opening sequence looks so much like when Vampirella confronts her fellow Draculonian living undercover as a university prof in the camp-tastic Vampirella movie that it brought me joy. As the scream of this dying professor carries on the wind, we cut to Red Sonja, who's waiting for Vampirella. They're looking for the morgue, and Vampirella uses her vampiric charms to get the door open for them. I kind of love the variance on her outfit here. It's subtle, but still recognizable. They see a mysterious blade mark on opening kill teacher's neck, which Vampirella recognizes as the mark of the Cult of Chaos. Yeah, we're gonna go back into Vampirella lore. They debuted in Vampirella number 8 back in 1970, but of course details surrounding them have changed over time. But then, they're discovered by Betty and Veronica, who are looking for a scoop because they're part of the newspaper club. Newspaper class? Newspaper extracurricular. Reporters, serious business. Something about Betty's eyes in this panel haunts me. We knew something wasn't right when they announced Mr. Harkness's death at school. Their teacher was Jack Harkness. Everything's coming together now. That was a joke, he wasn't really. It probably wasn't funny. It's okay. So if I have this straight, you're like vampire hunters from another dimension and time. So they're very accepting of this explanation. They do live in Riverdale after all. But Sonja tells them it's too dangerous. Leave this to the professional dimension hopping time travelers. Why exactly do you think we can't handle danger? Is it because we're girls? But they're also girls. It's quite clearly because you're mere mortals. But Betty and Veronica manage to convince them that they're gonna need some help blending. So they end up stashing them at Veronica's house, aka her huge man mansion. Why do you have so many clothes? I wonder that all the time. So they dress them up in Riverdale garb, and Vampirella's boots go on for days. That's great. I think they look a little old to be in high school. I do like the idea behind this joke. It's kind of like a meta reference to the fact that the actors who play teenagers are often not teenagers themselves. Sometimes they're significantly older. But enough about that. Now we're into the fish out of water portion of the story. There's a no weapons policy at school? Then what in the 7 C's do they teach you? Archie gets 2 lines in this, and it's when he tries to talk to Red Sonja, and she puts him down hard. Don't even look at her. Betty is our almost breaking the fourth wall character for this series. It's so we can get some of those little meta jokes in there. That's our friend Archie, but this is our story, not his. I would hope so. The title says Betty and Veronica, not Archie. We can do that later. The cover for this issue is true, by the way. Despite being there for like 5 seconds, Sonja ends up on the football team and Vampirella is a cheerleader. I think Sonja found her tribe. It's all fun and games until the coach gets murdered and he's found inside a pentagram. Issue 2. Look at the long arms on this selfie variant. It's tripping me out. So they all get interviewed by the police, who will be small town, not following obvious clues stereotypes this arc. Vampires in Riverdale. I know, right? I'm gonna suck your blood. What can you eat? Blood. So we're going with Vampirella's Draculon origin, which is referenced more and more time of recording. It may seem silly, planet full of vampires, but there's something about it that works, and it seems to resonate a bit more with people than her whole From Hell backstory that was there in the 90s. Although the Christopher Priest run did this thing where it was fusing all the lore, it was interesting. They cliff notes how Vampirella and Sonja came together here. So as mentioned, you can really just pick this up on its own. It's not taking itself too seriously, so it has a bit of a just go with it vibe. We should go. There's a killer on the loose and we need to find him. Or them. Or her. The girls start investigating. First, where it all started. The first biology teacher who went missing and is presumed dead. That's why they had a substitute. Who is dead? Super dead. So far we have 3 people. 2 super duper dead, 1 probably dead. They search, they interrogate. Jughead gets a food related line. And then one of the members of the football team, Jorge, who had been salty about Sonja joining the team, well, he's found dead inside the cafeteria freezer. Jorge say it isn't so. Now Betty and Veronica have run into a problem. Libby of the Blue and Gold newspaper won't print their story about how there are all these cult killings. The Blue and Gold is not a tabloid. We take news seriously. Serial killers and the occult, your article is irresponsible. I love that they're offended by this. Like, what? We can't just print our mad musings? They should just take it to the internet. Start your own blog. Apply to a sketchy site. Post on a slightly less sketchy site. You have options. Betty decides that maybe there might be a historical angle if they're dealing with something with cults. So she goes to the library, which means she's gonna talk to Dilton. Look at Dilton, mattering. In the archives, she finds a photo of her, Veronica, Sonja, and Vampirella from the 70s. But how? Dun dun dun. Issue 3. I do like the touch that the yearbook photos are presented in an attempt to recreate the classic Archie art style. I say attempt because that style is more difficult than it would appear on the surface, and you can see that it is not the same as the original. After pondering these bizarre photos that the reader knows will inevitably lead to time travel at some point, Betty leaves Dilton to do some more research. But then he's attacked, but Betty came back because she needed to ask a question, so she sees the attacker, and the attacker runs past her. Sonja, who had come back with Betty, gives chase, but then the would-be killer jumps out the window, through the glass too. It's very dramatic. Curse this no weapon policy. I would have skewered this ghost with one swift arrow. So Dilton is in the hospital. He's in a coma. They hope that when he wakes up, he can help them identify the attacker. Also, Sonja and Vampirella try to train Betty and Veronica to do some fighting. It's just a little tiny detail. It doesn't really work out, but it's cute. I mean, what's real in this world anyway? What if it's all just fiction? No, Betty, don't go full Deadpool or She-Hulk or Gwenpool. Back away from the wall. The thing is, there's a plot point that's been creeping up. It's been referenced and now it's starting to rear its head. Vampirella needs sustenance. She's slowly been getting weaker and weaker. And Betty ends up taking her with her to the blood bank when she decides that she's gonna donate blood because she was inspired by Dilton when she heard that he needed blood. So she got to thinking, hey, I have blood, I should donate for all the people who could potentially need blood. Now the police can't find any connection between the victims, but you know who's strange? Those foreign exchange students. That's how they're saying that Vampirella and Sonja are there, that they're just foreign exchange students. It's like the supermarket. I'm so hungry. What will Vampirella eat? Well, I know what I'm gonna eat. HelloFresh. Vampirella made a poorer life choice. She decides to chow down at the blood bank and she gets arrested. Open and check case. Sweet. Issue 4. Everybody thinks that Vampirella did it, but she manages to make bail because Veronica arranges it. She's just flexing that wealth. Also, this issue has 3 artists, so you'll see some changes in the art style. They try to keep it consistent, but it's pretty obvious. Now, what seems to be Vampirella reading a shallow magazine about what your blood type says about you and showing it to Sonja opens up a discussion about different blood types. So we learned that all the people who were attacked had a rare blood type, O negative, and that Betty also has that blood type, which means, according to the logic of any kind of story like this, she has to be the next victim. Veronica is very concerned about this because Betty went to do some reporting at a Pussycats concert. No, they want to actually get an article into the paper. And Dilton gets his own song dedication at this concert. It's all coming up Dilton. Dilton, Dilton, we love you, need you. Please come back to us. I have so many questions. I laughed out loud when I first read it. Like, it's sweet, but also at the same time, the lyrics. I sang it so many ways. They're all equally awful. This loving tribute is interrupted by an attack. They're able to fight them off, and there's even a stereotypical "nobody disrupts one of my concerts" line. And Dilton wakes up from his coma. No, he missed his tribute song. I hope someone recorded it. I was gonna say taped it, and then I realized how much that dated me. Then also realized that recorded it probably still also dated me. I hope someone downloaded it. Issue 5. This issue is even more artists. COVID things, schedules, delays, life. So that last attack happened at the high school. That's where the concert was. And so after that, now there's a curfew been instated on the town. Remember Riverdale. See something? Say something. Dilton is awake, so it's interrogation time and also Jello time. Dilton drops a bombshell. He was attacked by more than one person. Veronica decides that Dilton isn't in enough danger. What if they used him as bait? What if they say that he actually saw his attackers and knows tons of information? The police just agree to this. They haven't been doing a great job this arc, so why not let these high schoolers give it a go? And they accomplish it by taking my advice. They post their thing on YouTube. And they actually call it YouTube too. It's a bold play. Sometimes in these stories they call it something else or spell it differently. No, going straight for the YouTube. YouTube? What do they think they're doing? So Libby calls an emergency editorial staff meeting. I love to imagine there's just like a button she presses, a signal in the sky, a giant notebook appears in the sky, a big pencil, a big laptop. What would the symbol be for editorial meeting? So Betty and Veronica leave Vampirella and Sonja to guard Dilton. And sure enough, cult members arrive, complete with cloaks. You gotta have the cloaks. They're so agile that Vampirella says they have to be from Draculon. The plot thickens when underneath one of the cloaks is the history teacher from the high school. Now Betty and Veronica went down to this emergency editorial meeting only to get there and realize that the meeting is about them. They're the problem. But Libby also says she wants to hear what they've got. She wants to hear the scoop. What are the deets? Tell Libby. Well, you seem to have done your research. I think you're both ready for the truth. It was everyone, the whole editorial staff and some teachers, so not everyone. It was a lot of people. It was the whole editorial staff though, except for Betty and Veronica. So there was a secret vampire cult cabal and you weren't invited. How would you feel about that? Not cool enough for the cult? What are you trying to say? They made them an offer they couldn't refuse. Money, fame, and access to whatever school they wanted. They're making a bit of a joke about the inaccessibility of college and university, at least some of the top tier ones. It's a very state-centric joke. Riverdale is just too small for this type of operation. I thought you were a vegan. It's an acquired taste. Why do you think we ran so many blood drives? So Libby was blocking the story on purpose. I mean, she didn't really have to try that hard. They came with nothing, so it's not like she looks suspicious for having not let them print it. They bring Betty and Veronica as their leaders as an offering. Issue 6. Hey, back down to 3 artists. So here we see that the first alleged victim, the one who was missing, the science teacher, was not missing at all. She was in on it. And this vampire is Vudasol, not Dracula. They even make a joke about it. The teacher was hiding out in the lab the whole time, which actually, if you think about it, tracks back because that's how that first murder happened in the lab. Little subtle details. So the editorial staff was helping these 2 vampires get supplies for their plan in exchange for some Draculonian blood extract. Basically, this special serum was giving them advanced abilities. It was acting like a type of Adderall style stimulant, only vampiric, and adding some extra things like the strength. However, it was temporary and also left the effect of craving O negative blood specifically. As Vampirella mentioned in an earlier issue that different blood types had different tastes. But because of this, people got sloppy and people died, so they tried to cover their tracks and leave random clues, like the pentagram that was shown around the coach's body. So the cult of chaos, innocent, at least at this time. Dracula? No, Vampirella, but so good to see you again. Vampirella asks if she knows the science teacher, but she says no, but they need to address the continuity problem that Vampirella has caused. Good luck. At this point, if you tried to sort out all the Vampirella continuity, especially if we're dealing with crossovers, you need some kind of crisis event. Crisis existence of infinite Vampirellas. So they say that Vampirella leaving Draculon opened up a border between her and not Dracula's world, and that more and more vampiri made their way to Earth. Eva, this teacher, being one of them. And they seek to, well, it's not entirely clear right now, but it doesn't matter because Vampirella doesn't want any evil vampire shenanigans on her planet. Her planet? Or just, she doesn't want bad rep, she's not for it. As she's fighting Eva, Vampirella weakly calls her sister, or it seems so at first, but it seems to be meant to be directed at Sonja because she's there and she shows up with the football team. Why? What are athletes gonna do against vampires? The editorial staff are in the lab and the lab's on fire, so they all run away. Eva throws the entire football team off her. So it seems like Eva and not Dracula are winning until they get hit by a bus driven by Dilton. Nice, can we get a song about that too? Dilton, Dilton, he'll hit you with a bus. The two Draculonians fly off and the police show up and arrest Libby. Why? They don't even know what happened yet. You know what? It tracks. They also just arrested Vampirella. What about my full ride to Yale? So the reported story is that Libby and the editorial staff were in a cult. Not of chaos, just of societal expectations and wanting to get into a good school. Vampirella, however, is shaken. All of this has got her thinking about Draculon, the drought there. You know, the man who felt Earth style. Betty and Veronica say that they'll help her and they'll help her find a ship and they're gonna deal with this. They don't want to leave this kind of action and adventure. How can they go back to their regular lives now? Which, at the window, we see some figures and not Dracula says this was the plan all along. Ah, one of those 4D chess players. Also, Eva is revealed to be Draculina, Vampirella's sister. That's a really obscure reference. Draculina is Vampirella's blonde twin sister who appeared once in the War and Years of Vampirella and then vanished for 40 years. She's made a couple of appearances since the 2010s and this is one of them. Although here she's not her twin, but her younger sister. And that's the first arc. This is cheesy popcorn fun. It tells you what it is and it goes for it. This is a tropey supernatural murder mystery. It sets up its tone and style right away. So if you're not into it, you can dip out at the start. And the jokes and the tone remain consistent throughout this entire arc. The characters match their modern at the time of this recording iterations. So nobody feels wildly OOC out of character. And the mystery has some thought behind it. The things that are revealed and the ultimate final reveal make sense. It doesn't feel like it came out of nowhere, except for the Draculina thing, but they deal with that more in the next arc. That's supposed to be the hook for the next arc. Like, woo. They even, if you notice, foreshadowed the culprits. There's a bit of foreshadowing that goes on in this. They're subtle, but they work. We should go. There's a killer on the loose and we need to find him. Or them. Or her. I mean, it's actually not really that subtle when you think about it. But it's enough that it could just pass as an ordinary line. So in short, thought and effort went into this. Now the jokes do rely a lot on the fish out of water dynamic or also on some genre stereotypes to land, and some can feel played out. So if you're not a fan of those types of humor, then this may be irritating. Also, if you're not a fan of time travel, you're just gonna be gritting your teeth knowing that it's coming at some point. This is very much one you have to go along with, and you can tell from the start if you're willing to or not. If you're not here for it on its own terms, it's not gonna be a fun time. If you're a fan of bizarre crossovers with some effort behind them that actually wind up making more sense than you'd expect, this may be for you. Though it must be admitted that the shift in art styles for those 3 issues can be jarring. For some people that may be enough to put them off. Personally, flaws and all, I found this fun. The mystery was decently implemented, the villain's motivations made sense, and they still fell into a slightly humorous mold, a kind of cynical dark humor, but it was there. They found ways to work both Red Sonja's and Vampirella's strengths and weaknesses into the story. In fact, the people who kind of fade into the background a bit are Betty and Veronica. All in all, an entertaining crossover. But that's just my opinion and I want to hear yours. Did you enjoy this or was it just too silly for your blood? Did a lot of the jokes not land? Do you want some more serious Vampirella and Red Sonja? Share all your thoughts down below. While you're down there, please don't forget to do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Check out HelloFresh if you're interested, and thanks to them again for sponsoring this video. Thanks so much for taking this time of your day spent discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.